আমাকে ইসলাম সাধনায় দীক্ষিত করবে?
নিশ্চয়ই, আনন্দের সঙ্গে।
আরো একটা কুৎসা, এবারে সবাই হাসাহাসি করছে। শুধু তাই নয়, লোকেরা সব বেশ চটেই গেছে। সাধনা করছেন, করুন না, এভাবে প্রকাশ্যে না করলেই হলো।
হে আল্লাহ,
পত্নীর সঙ্গে এত বেশি ঘনিষ্ঠতা আমি অনুমোদন করছি না।
মা গো, আমি ওকে আধ্যাত্মিক পথে সহায়তা করছি মা। ও যে নেহাতি বালিকা।
সে চিন্তা আমি করব। ও শুধু কম বয়সী নয়, যথেষ্ট সুশ্রী।
আমাদের শ্রদ্ধা শিখিও না। তুমি কি কিন্তু মা,
দোহাই আপনাদের, আপনারা ঝগড়া করবেন না। উনি আর ফিরে আসবেন না।
কি জানি বাবু, কিন্তু এটা বড় ভুল কাজ করলো।
উনি তবে ঠিক করেছিলেন।
এখানে সবাই সবসময় ঠিক কাজই করে।
জলের ন্যায় সন্ন্যাসিনীরও সর্বদা চলমান থাকা উচিত। নিজেকে পবিত্র রাখার সেটাই একমাত্র উপায়।
Sri Ramakrishna's journey through human sadhanas had served through both the Dvaita and the Advaita, the dual and the non-dual. In Bengal to this day, the festival dedicated to the worship of the goddess Durga stirs the deepest soul. A vast cottage industry flourishes months before the festival, as temporary clay images of Durga are made in the hundreds of thousands to be worshipped with deep devotion for 5 days, only to be immersed thereafter in the Ganges or nearest lake or stream. The reason for this ritual is not as mysterious as it seems. It is an exercise in understanding the essential source of divinity, the transience of material form. Before the image of Durga is worshipped, the worshipper must transfer the divine presence from within his or her own heart into the image so as to concentrate attention. After 5 days of prayer, the divine presence must be withdrawn from the image and reinstalled in the worshipper's heart.
Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Shadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. না না, উনি দেবী, তোমরা মাকে বিসর্জন দিও না।
In Mathur's heart, the image and the divine presence had merged. His threats against those who would remove the image became bloodthirsty. His household feared he too was becoming like his protege, Ramakrishna, quite God-man.
কি গো, কিসের ভয় পাচ্ছ? গঙ্গায় বিসর্জন দিলেই মা বুঝি তোমায় ছেড়ে চলে যাবে? হ্যাঁ গো, ছেলেকে ছেড়ে মা কি কখনো থাকতে পারে? তিনি তোমার হৃদয়ে বসে তোমার পুজো নেবে।
Master, enlighten me with your touch. Mathur had often begged Sri Ramakrishna, show me what you see. I want to experience your ecstasy. To which Sri Ramakrishna would say, this ecstasy is not to be taken lightly, Mathur Babu. Be patient. Keep your life balanced between devotion and worldly obligations, for that is your dharma. But Mathur persisted, and eventually Sri Ramakrishna said he would ask the mother her opinion in the matter. Some days later, Mathur sent urgently for Sri Ramakrishna.
বাবা, বাবা, আমার ঘাট হয়েছে বাবা। আজ 3 দিন ধরে এক রকম অবস্থা। অনেক চেষ্টা করেও বিষয়কর্মে মন দিতে পারছি না, সবখানে খারাপ হয়ে গেল।
কেন? তুমি যে ভাব চেয়েছিলে?
চেয়েছিলুম, কিন্তু তোমার ভাব তুমি ফিরিয়ে নাও। তখন তো বুঝিনি যে ভূতের বোঝার মতো ঘাড়ে এসে চাপবে, আর এর প্রভাবে আমাকে 24টা ঘন্টা কাটাতে হবে। আবার আমার স্বাভাবিক সত্তা ফিরে পেলাম।
But ever, Mathur, wealthy beyond words and count, gave generously to Ramakrishna anything his heart could want, which was usually nothing, since money made no sense to him. But there were times that Ramakrishna tried Mathur's generosity to the limits. From 1868 to 1871, Sri Ramakrishna traveled incessantly, learning about the spiritual and physical conditions of the people, about their religious ideas, visiting holy places. Those with spiritual power visit sacred places not to take, but to replenish them with their spiritual power, so that the masses of people draw daily from them. Sri Ramakrishna visited in this period not only the holy places of the Hindus, but also those of Christians, such as the Holy Trinity Church on Ram Mohan Sarani and the Methodist Church on Surendra Banerjee Road, and those of the Muslims, such as Garatullah Masjid on Chitranjan Avenue in Calcutta and the Malapura Masjid near Dakhineshwar. The Eden Gardens, Fort William, the Asiatic Society Museum and the Alipur Zoo were not off his itinerary. Life did not exist only in the realms of the spirit. Death is the inevitable end of our physical lives, our final destination, our unavoidable final truth. Yet we deny it, for we are knitted into our bodies, entwined in our relations with our kin. We suffer grief and loss. Given the choice, we would live, if we could, forever, bound inextricably into our material manifestations, close to our families and friends. RUPSHA was the closest to Sri Ramakrishna of all his relatives, the son of his eldest brother Ramkumar, the priest of the Kali temple after Haladhari, a young man of a charming, open, sunny disposition.
বাচ্চা আমার সবে সেদিন বিয়ে করেছে।
বৈদ্যকে ডাকো, সেই বা এসে করবে কি? ছোঁড়া মারা যাবে। অক্ষয় বল, গঙ্গা নারায়ণ ওং রাম, বল গঙ্গা নারায়ণ ওং রাম, বল গঙ্গা নারায়ণ ওং রাম। বাবা 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 বাবা, খাপ থেকে ওষি বেরিয়ে গেছে। খাপ বদলায়, কিন্তু ওষি শাশ্বত। মা কালীর গৌরব, তিনি এই আবরণ সৃষ্টি করেছেন। ব্রহ্ম অসি রূপে গৌরবময়। হে ব্রহ্ম, তুমি মহান, তুমি অগ্নিস্বরূপ। হে মা কালী, তুমি দাহিকা শক্তি। হে মা মহামায়া।
Yet the next day, Sri Ramakrishna, who was able to distance himself into the abstract of the death of his most beloved nephew, wept as though his heart would break. Later, he was to say of this incident, "I felt as though a wet towel was being wrung inside my heart. Oh, mother," I thought, This body of mine has no relation even to the cloth that enfolds it. Yet how can it feel so much for a nephew? And if I feel so much pain, what must a householder suffer? Is that what you are teaching me? But you know, those who hold on to the Lord, they do not lose themselves in grief. When Mathranath fell ill a few years later, Sri Ramakrishna did not go to see Mathur even once. But he knew the moment Mathur was lifted into the chariot of the Divine Mother and his spirit went to the sphere of the Devi. Sri Ramakrishna had been with his oldest friend in his celestial body all the while, enabling him on his last journey. A plastic, unidimensional man may be consistent, but a human saint is not. Holiness was not a one-sided development for Sri Ramakrishna, but a psychic whole. He was too human to embrace divinity at the expense of his humanity, too divine to act as the common Maya-driven man. Mother, let me remain in contact with men, was Sri Ramakrishna's fervent prayer to Kali. Don't turn me into a dried-up ascetic. Don't allow my love to be swallowed up in the fires of human wisdom. Attaining Nirvikalpa Samadhi, union with the Eternal, what the Hindus call Brahman and Islam calls Allah, had not slaked Ramakrishna's devotional yearnings. But he had seen and had been passing through Dakshineshwar the results of dwelling excessively in the infinite. Desiccated sadhus like ghouls with glowing eyes, empty gourds rattling in the cosmic winds, indifferent to man. Life without love was inconceivable to Ramakrishna. Love for Brahman, the eternal ocean of consciousness, for Ishvar, who is also Kali, the divine mother of all existence. Love for man, the flesh and blood embodiment of Kali. Love was the very air he breathed. Yet he was to say to his devotees in later years, do your duty, but keep your mind on God. Live with your wife and children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as though they were very dear to you, but know in your heart that they do not belong to you. Love without possessiveness, surely a contradiction in terms. But Ramakrishna demonstrated that spiritual detachment does not rule out genuine warmth and sharing. It allows for a love that is essentially impersonal and disinterested, and for that, the purer, less selfish, and more abundantly fruitful by virtue of this detachment. 4 years after her husband returned to Dakshineshwar from Kamarpukur, Shardamani, tired of waiting to be summoned to his side, took the initiative. She was 18 years old. Now her ears burned with gossip about his insanity, that remembering the gentle, considerate man who had instructed her so carefully on prayer and behavior, she refused to believe.
আজ একটু ভালো আছো? আজ যদি সেজেও থাকতো।
আমার আর কাউকে দরকার নেই, তুমি এত যত্ন করছো।
Why, it may be asked, if Ramakrishna was so pleased to see his wife, had he done nothing to bring her to him? No answer can be found by applying our own standards to his actions. Ramakrishna had so given himself to the will of God that it was impossible for him to make decisions beyond 1 minute to the next. He abhorred planning. Once the story goes, he asked Hirday about a calf he was carrying. I'm taking it home, Hirday said, to fatten it, so that one day it will be strong enough for the plow. Ramakrishna was so horrified he fainted. See how worldly men hoard for the future, he cried. They have so little trust in God. Ah, this is Maya. Now Ramakrishna thought Sharda's arrival was an indication from the mother that they should be together. It would be his sadhana of purity. During the 18 months that Ramakrishna and Sharda lived together in the closest intimacy, often sleeping in the same bed. When Sharda spoke of this period in her life, she described it as one of continuous ecstasy, sexless, spiritual ecstasy. Such a relationship is so unthinkable for most of us that we must take it on trust.
হ্যাঁ,
আমাকে তোমার কি বলে বোধ হয়?
তোমাকে কি বলে বোধ হয়? যে মা মন্দিরে আছেন, যিনি আমায় জন্ম দিয়েছেন, এখন নহবতে আছেন, তিনি এখন আমার পদসেবা করছেন। সাক্ষাৎ আনন্দময় রূপ করে তোমায় সত্য সত্যি দেখি। মন, এই নাম শ্রী। লোকে একে পরমপাদেও ভোগ্য বস্তু বলে জানে এবং ভোগ করবার জন্য সর্বক্ষণ লালায়িত হয়, কিন্তু এ গ্রহণ করলে দেহেই আবদ্ধ থাকতে হয়। সচ্চিদানন্দ ঘন ঈশ্বরকে লাভ করা যায় না। মন, তুমি ভাবের ঘরে চুরি করো না, পেটে একখানা মুখে একখানা দেখো না। সত্য বলো, তুমি এরা গ্রহণ করতে চাও অথবা ঈশ্বরকে চাও? যদি এরা চাও তো এই তোমার সম্মুখে রয়েছে, গ্রহণ করো।
The choice the master gave himself, he also offered in all fairness to his wife. I have learned to look upon every woman as mother, he told her. That is the only idea I can have about you. But if you wish to draw me into the world, as I am married to you, then I am at your service. However, Sharda assured him that the prospect of renouncing their spiritual intimacy and living together as ordinary man and wife was as unthinkable.
মাঝে মাঝে আমি ভাবি আমার কখনো নিজের সন্তান হবে না।
দেখো, 5-6 জন নয়, শত শত হাজার হাজার ছেলে তুমি মা হবে, সারা পৃথিবী তোমায় মা বলে ডাকবে, সেই জন্য তুমি জন্মগ্রহণ করেছো।
I have a human body, Sri Ramakrishna was to tell his disciples later. If I were to say I have conquered lust, it would be said in pride and I would fall. I accept the existence of lust without shame and guilt and let it pass, as I do so many disturbing behaviors of the body. Sri Ramakrishna did not hold that sex is sinful. Sexuality is a part of Maya, as is any manifestation of nature. In Tantra that Sri Ramakrishna had practiced intimately with the Brahmini, sex is sacred, symbolic of the union of Shiva and Shakti, spirit and matter, from which the universe and its multitudinous variations is born. But sex thrives in duality, the sense of separation and incompleteness that is diametrically opposed to the consciousness of union that is the touchstone of the spiritual. Chandra Devi, Ramakrishna's mother, who had moved into the cramped room on the first floor of the music tower some years ago, was only too glad to have her daughter-in-law live below. Sharda, who believed with a certain verisimilitude, as Hindu women of the time were taught, that her husband was God, would live here each time she visited Dakshineshwar, preparing meals for Ramakrishna's delicate stomach and nourishing her own spiritual evolution. The holy fire of God inebriation had burned in Sri Ramakrishna for 12 years, keeping him engaged in practices of the different spiritual moods without rest. He had long ago sacrificed all desirable things of the world, wealth, honor, fame, his heart, mind, intellect, memory, the only thing that remained was a desire to see the mother of the universe. This too he would now sacrifice. In a historic act on the night of the new moon reserved for the worship of Mother Kali, the master revived a largely forgotten tradition and elevated his wife, thereby symbolically all Indian women, to the pedestal of their former glory in a rarely performed tantric ritual, the Sadashi Puja, the adoration of the Divine Virgin. Soon after Sharda left for Kamarpukur, Ramakrishna took to visiting a neighbor, the gregarious, well-read, devout and generous Shambhucharan Malik, who was to virtually take over from Mathur as provider of Ramakrishna's physical needs. Shambhucharan was Catholic in his tastes. He read all the religious treatises with equal enthusiasm and took to reading to Ramakrishna excerpts from the Bible.
বুঝলে হৃদয়, ঠাকুর বলেন তার 5 জন রসোদ্ধারের মধ্যে আমি একজন।
মা, আমাকে কি করছিস?
Eight years after suddenly finding himself falling into the Islam sadhana, just as unexpectedly, Ramakrishna experienced a Advaitin form of Christ, as he had Muhammad and Ma Kali, dissolve into the Advaitin source of all creation as he went again into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. All paths he was to declare later in his most illuminating and inspired lectures lead to the same source. And he could say this with complete conviction. His devotions led him to an experience of the Buddha and Jain Mahavir as avatars, of the sage King Janak and the Sikh gurus.
মাগো, রামেশ্বর দাদা কামার পুকুরে দেহ রেখেছে। রামলাল পিতার অস্থি কলকাতার কাছে বৈদ্যবাটিতে গঙ্গায় বিসর্জন দিয়েছে।
আমার বুক ফেটে যাচ্ছে। আমার ছেলে, আমার মেজো ছেলে মা জগদম্বার কাছে চলে গেল। কাঁদিস নে গদাই।
মা,
শোক করে কি হবে বাবা? সংসার অনিত্য, সকলকেই একদিন চলে যেতে হবে।
মা, এ দেহ ধারণ করে লাভ কি যদি ঈশ্বরের কাছে পৌঁছানো না যায়? মাগো, তানপুরার কান টিপে যেমন সুর চড়ানো হয়, শ্রী শ্রী জগদম্বা ওইভাবে তোমার মনকে উচ্চ গ্রামে চড়িয়ে রেখেছে। তাই পার্থিব দুঃখ কষ্ট তোমার কাছে পৌঁছতে পারবে না। মাগো, তোমার জন্য আর আমার কোনো উৎকণ্ঠা রইল না।
3 years later, Chandra Devi herself died at the age of 94. As a sannyasi whose life is based on the assertion that the world and all its changes are unreal, Ramakrishna could not take part in religious ceremonies related to birth, marriage, and death. but ever torn between humanity and divinity, Ramakrishna felt guilty that he had not honored Chandra by the ritual proper to a son. He would at least make the tarpana after the funeral rites were over.
হে মা জগদম্বা, এ তুই কি করছিস? আমি যে মার আত্মার প্রতি তর্পণ পর্যন্ত নিবেদন করতে পারছি না।
বাছা, নিজেকে ভৎসনা করো না। শাস্ত্র বলে আধ্যাত্মিক উন্নতির চরম সীমায় গিয়ে পৌঁছলে কর্ম কমে যায়। এমনকি মনে প্রাণে চাইলেও শাস্ত্রবিহিত কর্মানুষ্ঠান সকলও সে সম্পাদন করতে পারে না। এতে কোনো পাপ হয় না গো, কোনো পাপ হয় না।
কোথায় আমার ছেলেরা? কোথায় তোরা আছিস? তোরা আয় রে, তোরা আসছিনি কেন? তোদের না দেখে আমি যে থাকতে পারছিনি। মাগো, তুই তো বলেছিলি এখানকার ভক্তরা সব আসবে, তারা আসছিনি কেন? যদি তারা নাই বা আসবে, তাহলে এই জীবনের মূল্য কি রইল? আমার জীবনের মূল্য কি রইল? আমার জীবনের মূল্য